Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of the Seamless Middle East series. We're going to be kicking off the series today with a 60-minute panel discussion entitled Accelerating Cashless Economies in the COVID-19 Era. We're lucky to be joined by 5 industry experts who kindly agreed to share their insights as we discuss the acceleration of cashless strategies. So our panelists today are His Excellency Wesam Lootah, who is the CEO of Smart Dubai Government Establishment. We have Mohammed Shael Alsaadi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Corporate Strategic Affairs, Department of Economic Development at Dubai Economy. We have Soliman, who is the Managing Director for the Middle East at Network International, and Shahebaz, who is the General Manager of the UAE for Visa. And moderating our session today, we have Ziad Alshobaki, who is a digital payments industry expert. In a moment, I'd like to hand over to Ziad so that we can get started. I'd just like to flag, we're just having a small technical issue with Sama joining the panel, so he should be on within the first 5 minutes. So can I ask all panelists to please turn on their webcams and their microphones? And whilst everyone's doing that, I'd like to remind the audience that you can ask questions throughout the session, and our panelists will do their best to answer them. So without further ado, Ziad, I'd like to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you for Terrapin to organize this event through WebEx today. And I would like to welcome my guests, His Excellency Wesam Lootah, and His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Alsaadi, and also Shahebaz Khan from Visa, and you're all my friends. And it's good to see you through WebEx today, and I'm happy to moderate this discussion. And I would like to actually start with Wesam and ask him a question. And start with the Smart Dubai app right now. Wesam, can you share with us what's happening in the app of Smart Dubai on the past 1 month?
Sure. Well,
in terms of downloading, transactions.
Thank you, Ziad. Thanks. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers for hosting this event, and it's a pleasure to be here with you and with the esteemed panelists. And hopefully soon we'll be joined with Sam and Soliman. It's obvious, I think, this this time that we are going through with this COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a shift in the ways of people working and in their daily habits. And one of the things that we have seen is that a lot of people have shifted from doing physical interactions toward depending on digital channels. And one of these channels obviously was the Dubai Now app, which is the just a quick introduction of what this is for some of the people who may not know. Smart Dubai offers, or Dubai government offers, an application called Dubai Now. If you haven't downloaded it, I will encourage you to download it after this session. The idea behind Dubai Now is to bring in government services and some of the private sector services under one umbrella, under one application, so that the citizens and residents of Dubai and the UAE can benefit from having all these applications under one umbrella. We have now more than 116 services all together. You can download the app, you can pay for your government fees or also private sector fees. You can renew your, let's say, your car registration, you can pay for parking, you can pay for bills, top up salary, even pay for ENOC. And what we've seen recently, I think we published the number, there was more than 250,000 transactions that happened during the last few weeks with this pandemic. As a Dubai government, we overall, Smart Dubai, we are leading this push towards becoming paperless. So His Highness Sheikh Hamdan Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Crown Prince of Dubai and the Chairman of the Executive Office, as approved back in 2018. And
I think we may have lost your audio there, Wesam.
Wesam, your voice. Speak.
are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Now we're able to hear you. We stopped by when you said His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed.
Yes, so I was saying that His Highness Sheikh Hamdan Mohammed, the Crown Prince of Dubai and the Chairman of the Executive Office, approved in 2018 an overarching strategy for digital transformation within the government. And that's the paperless strategy, with the aim for Dubai government to go completely paperless and 100% digital by 2021. So we have, moved quite far when it comes to digitization, and this is what we are benefiting from today. During this pandemic, we have the infrastructure, we have the digital services already in place that allow the citizens and residents and the government to continue to operate, I would say, without a hitch, thanks to all the collaboration of the government entities and making these services available.
Thank you, Wesam, for the feedback, and I will move to Mohammed Sadi. Mohammed, during such experience we had in the past 1 month, I'm sure the economic department is thinking of the future, of how things gonna develop and move forward. Now, from the economic department point of view, in the UAE, or let's say in Dubai law, you need to take an office, and based on that, you can have certain amount of visa, like 10 visas or 5 visas. Now, with this whole e-commerce change, the way that business is changing towards e-commerce, is the economic department is thinking of supporting, let's say, new startups and businesses that they have a lot of, or let's say their e-commerce, or they have a social media or online business. Are you thinking of supporting them and taking a small office and let's say more visas because usually, if let's say the space is 5 meters, you can have 2 employees. If it's bigger, then you can increase the number of employees. Now, with this e-commerce and the whole digital world is coming, are you at the economic department thinking of introducing something new or new product to the market?
Well, thank you very much also for the organizer for organizing such a nice webinar. I also would like to thank the attendees who are attending this, taking some time from their work, from their commitments, and coming forward to listen to us. Basically, before I go to the economic department, I would like just to tap into what you've mentioned, Ziad, when you said how the future will look like. We in the economic department, we have a small division called Future Economies. And their role is basically to take the binocular and look in the future, looking at the labs, looking at the white papers, looking at the studies of what will happen in the future, and then bring it to today, try to summarize it and understand it, and then create some of the prototyping when it comes to futuristic ideas. Now, the pandemic has accelerated too many things. Now, how we see the future from the economic department, basically the workforce, instead of them flying to a small place, flying to a country, flying to a city, they will stay home. And now with the technologies available in here, people can work from home, from wherever they are, and get paid on that. So I will have a person maybe in the UK and in India and Egypt on my payroll while they are not physically available here in the city. And this is where we see and how we see the futures coming. So basically, in the coming 5 years, how that evolve would be in our observation and our radar screen. Now, coming back to your question, Ziad, when it comes to Dubai, we've done so many changes in the last year or so. Now, for example, prior to the pandemic, or prior to pandemic, like a year ago or 2 years ago, we normally used to have each license has to have at least 500 square foot of physical space in order for us to give a license to start a business. Now, we've changed that to 250, and then we've changed it to even to a home-based. So now you don't need to have a location to run your business. You need to, all you need to have is a one social account related to your business, so that we can link that social account to your license. And this new product, what we are putting in the market, is so far for the UAE nationals, because we want to just test that concept. And if this concept is well into the system, and maybe then later on we'll open it slowly. For the e-commerce, now imagine if you are Alibaba or if you are Amazon, see how big they are. All you need to have in Dubai here, 200 square foot to run that business. So you need to have 1 or 2 people sitting in the office running the entire ecosystem from where you are to the entire world. So when it comes to online services or online product, we don't consider an online as a business. We consider it as a channel for your business. So you can have a brick and mortar and you can have a click and mortar. Both of those are under one license, and you can do your business wherever you are.
Interesting. Mohammed, can you also share with us some information about the app that you've been working on, Engage DXP? I think a lot of people now, I think it will be a new product to the market soon with a big marketing campaign. Can you share with the audience what's Engage DXP is all about?
Okay, Engage DXP is basically, it's a CSR initiative from the economic department. We in economic department, we have, along with the Dubai Chamber, about 64 business councils or business groups, be it Gold and Diamond Business Group, Electronics Business Group, Computer Business Group, and so on and so forth. We've got 64 business groups. So those business groups would like to engage always with the government. They need to tell us what they are fearing from, what they want from us, and then we need to communicate back with them. So we've created this in 2017. The essence of this was just to reach out to those business communities. Now, by the time we evolve with this product, many people are saying, okay, how about engaging some more product and services into this? Now, tapping into what His Excellency Mr. Wesam mentioned, where His Highness said we need Dubai to be paper-free by 2021, we've created lots of services into that app. One of those services is you can create a business card or multiple business cards. So for example, if you are working in one company, you can create a business card for that company. If you are a member of different group, you can create a multiple different business card. This is one thing. The other thing is, this is one of the flagships that we have, and this is organizing events from A to Z, which means that you can invite lists, VIP lists, allocation of places, allocation of seats, parking. So the entire ecosystem for the event can be organized using that Engage DXP, and free of cost. You don't need to have anything. Now, the major flip that we're doing in that is creating a network of unbanked or underbanked individuals in Emirate of Dubai. We've got about 62 either unbanked or underbanked living in Dubai in here, and they don't have access to bank services. Some of them, they have only a deposit account, but they don't have extra than that. Basically, what we are trying to do here, we are working with our strategic partners. We've got 2 banks and we've got 1 technological companies to provide those services for laborers, for example, using the WPS, which is the wage protection program with the Ministry of Labor. So basically now the money, when it goes to the labor account, now he doesn't need to withdraw it all and keep it somewhere. It will be reside in his phone, and basically from his phone he can either one time set a automatic trigger that he can remit his money to his country, or he can use it as a tap and go. He can use it as to transfer money between one individual and another. And also we are helping the micro and small businesses, because credit card machine is not easily given to micro and small businesses, and especially for those who work from home. So basically, they can use our network to tap into the new technology that we have through Engage DXB.
I'm glad to hear this, Mohammed. This has been will be a very interesting experience, and I look forward to seeing it in Dubai. And thank you for sharing. Now I would like to move to Shahebaz. Shahebaz, being in Visa, I mean, today, if we speak about fintech, you are the guys, the biggest fintech company in the world. Can you give us some insight about, I don't want to say exact numbers, but I would say the percentage of the increase of e-commerce transaction. And if you can share with us, because Samer is not here now to share with us some information, but until he comes, but can you share with us some details in which verticals, like is it the services industry, is it the food industry? And I'm sure there were a drop in other verticals like aviation and traveling and hotels and booking. So there is some advantage over certain verticals. They have advantages over the others. Can you share with us some information about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in terms of e-commerce, we've seen obviously this right now. That seems to be the channel that is surviving through, and in fact, it's really cramped up. So we're seeing circa compared to March last year and to this year, we are seeing about a 23% growth in e-commerce alone in the UAE. And I think a lot of the websites, a lot of the channels that we're using for consumption have all gone to a prepaid only model. So so that's encouraging customers to get online, pay online for the goods and services that they buy. The other category of payments that we're seeing as phenomenal growth, which has been a continuing trajectory for the last couple of years, and it's continuing to get even more pronounced, is contactless payments. When contactless payments came to the scene in a big way and Apple Pay and Samsung Pay launched in the UAE, I never thought that the tagline for that would be the most hygienic way to pay, right? I mean, that's something that none of us expected. We just like the experience. I think it's a very seamless way to pay. I think once you've used your phone or tapped your card on a machine, you don't want to go back to even just dipping your card, let alone take out cash. So I think contactless has really scaled for us. Right now in the UAE, more than half of transactions that are conducted face-to-face are done contactless. So over 50% of all these transactions are contactless. And we are really scaling that. So I think during this pandemic, I think that's really come through as well. In terms of categories, and I've just seen that Samer has joined us, so he can probably add to it. But we see, as you rightly mentioned, right, some of the traditional categories that have done well in the UAE in terms of hotels, restaurants, entertainment, air travel, they have taken a significant downturn. But the ones that are doing well are takeaway, groceries, basically everyday spend categories that you would expect people are doing when they are home. One of the other ones that we've seen a substantial growth in is subscription services. So your Netflix, your Spotify's, gaming platforms, because people when they stay home, I can see my kids spend a lot of time on their gaming platforms now than they used to before. So we've seen a growth in some of those services in terms of categories of growth over the last year. So that's sort of so it's a shift where it's sort of understandable, but yeah, those are the shifts that we are seeing right now.
I have to confirm this increase when the e-commerce 23%. I think maybe 5% just from my house alone.
Yeah, I think that's the story for everybody.
Everybody's
I hope you have enough credit in your credit card to handle all this results. Okay, thank you for sharing this information, Shahebaz, and I'd like to move to Samer, who has the numbers, I guess, among all of us. And I have two questions for Samer.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, for sure.
The first question I would like you to share with us, because I'm sure as issuing a network and in the issuing part, I'm sure there is not much happening, but in terms of acquiring and e-commerce, I think there's a lot happening. I hope you can share with us some information about the e-commerce transactions. Also, if you can see more potential to businesses to be transformed, or let's say has the chance to be transferred from normal business to digital, what are the verticals you think that there will be a growth based on what you see? Also, there's a question to both Samer and Wesam. Are we going to see any local scheme in the market? Also, I would like Mr. Mohammed's opinion on that. Are we going to see any local scheme payment in the market that can help startups to pay less rather than they're paying today 3% for transaction? So the microphone is with you, Samer, if you can share with us the information, and then we move to Mohammed and Wesam.
Maybe
Thank
yes.
you. Yeah. Thank you, Ziad, and apologies once again for not coming on time. I had some technical challenges that I've been handling right now. But thank you, first of all, for Therapin for organizing this. Thank you, Ziad, for moderating it, and thank you, everyone, on the webinar today. I would like to start with reflecting on the questions you've mentioned, Ziad. So the pandemic is an event that happened, and everyone acknowledged it immediately. It had a significant impact to the businesses, while either it's an issuing business or a merchant solution business or an e-commerce business. So I don't want to undermine the impact on the issuing side of the business that a lot of businesses have seen today. So banks have seen a significant drop in their number of transactions, and this is basically due to the reduced spends across different unnecessary segments. However, focusing on the retail segment and back to Wesam and Shahebaz's points, of course, some segments have seen some improvement. Mind you, supermarkets are leading in the growth, and in this necessary times, certain segments have been performing. Namely, I would say supermarkets, electronics have been performing really as well. Well, some furniture shops, because some people started buying furniture to accommodate their working from home environment. However, some unexpected segments that came in are segments like the real estate segment. So real estate was not contributing a lot of volumes. Today, real estate is picking up significantly. And the evolution of the digital payments that happened in parallel. I would like to touch base on what we have done, because the impact of the pandemic have a significant impact on the SME business in specific. And what we did at Network is that we looked at how can we support the SME in their journey and the transformation that the SME will go through. Because there are three options that SMEs were facing: tight cash flows, which would lead to them going bankrupt or closing the business, and or transforming their business model from the current business model of brick and mortar showrooms or retailers to going digital. But the time and the resources availability to move them to the digital world are not there. So what we have done as Network, and most of you would be aware, is that the first thing we have done is that we have launched a campaign which we call We Care For You campaign. And this campaign is basically distributing $1,000 for 1,000 needing merchants. So we chose the 1,000 most impacted merchants in the SME segments and the micro segment, and we gave each one $1,000 to make sure that they have certain cash flow to help them continue to operate. The second thing that we have done is that we have waived all minimum fees, minimum requirements for those SMEs to continue to operate. But going back to your point, how can we help those SMEs to go from shops to online space, and what did we do to do that? We have introduced a new capability on our gateway, which is called Pay by Link or Raise Invoice. Pay by Link is basically a capability. You don't need a website. You don't need to develop a shopping cart. You need to get away, because even if SMEs want it, there are no developers that were available to support them at the time. So we introduced a Pay by Link capability, and this capability enables the SME to have his logo, the product, and send the link to the customer to use it for payment. I would say that we have approached our SME segment. 40% of that segment showed interest in adopting this capability. But in addition to this, new business models also started coming in or accelerated to become faster. So some clinics, historically, you need to go to the clinic, see the doctor, pay for your bills. Some of our clinic clients went into digital and developed a mobile app, and we helped them also using Pay by Link initially, but now they have enriched their capabilities to serve their customers, do the consultation online, and the customer pays online. The B2B is another area that have seen significant adoption on the digital world, where a lot of the suppliers started collecting their receivables using Pay by Link capability. Again, it's a journey that we're going through at this point of time, and I'm expecting a lot of transformation that would happen post-COVID, because one thing I believe in right now, the way we went into COVID here in the UAE is not the same way we'll get out of COVID. I think there are lots of requirements and lots of measures that we'll have to do while doing business post-COVID. As an organization, of course, we started focusing on our digital capability and how can we digitize the whole experience of our clients. One thing I was in discussion with my group CEO about is how can we benefit from all the facilities, all the flexibility that was provided during the COVID period, and come out of that period with a proposition that our customers continue to use and operate in an easy and a seamless way. Mind you, everything that you talk about contactless and the central bank mandate of raising the threshold for contactless payments of 500 dirhams is another area that we should not undermine, given that this addresses most of the average ticket size in the geography. So there is a lot of happening, and we are core part of the UAE, and we have been working closely, of course, with all the stakeholders to provide that.
One question, Samer, regarding Pay by Link. Is it feasible solution for freelancers? Like if I'm a freelancer, or I'm a commission-based person, is it available for freelancers as well?
As long as you have got the required regulatory approvals to operate, I think it is feasible. And the good news, Ziad, is that we offered it 3 months free of MSF. So the whole bill is on us. So basically, you don't pay a fee on that. You don't pay transaction fees on these transactions to help you adopt and transform throughout the journey. It's part of our We Care for You package that we have introduced in the market.
Interesting. Now the day is gonna come where we're gonna come out of this pandemic and things are gonna get back to normal. But still, there is a very important question which I asked earlier, and I would like Mr. Wesam, Mohammed, and Samer opinion. Is there a local scheme that the UAE is working on to actually offer to SMEs, to offer to new businesses? Because as we all know, in the future, 3% is going to be an expensive amount. Is there a solution? The government of Dubai, Smart Dubai, along with the economic department and I know you guys, you know each other, and we always think together. Is there anything coming up soon for that? Is there a solution coming where e-commerce transaction can be 1% or 1.5% rather than it's 3%?
I'd like to address this point, Ziad, maybe just to step back a bit and talk about, in general, the situation in the UAE. As we know, like, the UAE has been one of the leading countries when it comes to becoming digital innovation. We have an agenda always that and leadership that's always pushing us to be the best in various sectors, I would say. And however, one of the things that where we are monitoring and we see here is that the way that the market is in the UAE and in Dubai, we see there is a lot of still heavy dependency on cash. So if we look at some of the statistics, the numbers show that maybe up to 70% of transactions are done in cash versus digital or card-based transactions. And I think Shahebaz and Samer can confirm this. Whereas in some economies, maybe in the Nordics, that number is flipped, where most of the transactions are done on card or digital versus very little on cash. That's still kind of the nature of the market today, and the nature of how transactions are done. There's a lot of traditional merchants still exist. Some are having difficulties, or they see some obstacles in going on accepting card payments or other schemes. So I think that's the first point that we need to address, making it feasible for small merchants, small medium enterprises to accept payments, digital payments or electronic payments. And there are various ways and things that we can do to tackle this. We're working closely with the central bank and with the stakeholders into addressing this point. One of them, as you mentioned, is having schemes or having products that are catering for these small medium enterprises. One of them is to address the cost. The other one is to address the onboarding process. Unfortunately, until today, the onboarding process is not up to par to what we see out in more developed markets. In order for a merchant to accept payment, they have to go through quite a lot of steps, and there is a lot of regulatory requirements, especially in the area of KYC. And as a government entity in Smart Dubai, we are closely working with the Telecommunications Regulatory Authority and Abu Dhabi Digital Authority to address the identity issue. So in 2018, we issued a program which is called the UAE Pass, which is digital identity. And this is a completely digital identity that now not only the government, but the private sector can use to address the authentication and the know your customer requirements. Fortunately, the central bank has endorsed the UAE Pass back in September of 2019, and it issued a circular to all the banks to accept the use of UAE Pass as a means of onboarding and fulfilling the requirement of KYC. So we are seeing now these kind of issues to become resolved. We've just today had the committee meeting with UAE Pass, and we've seen that one of the exchange houses, Al-Ansari exchange house, has now adopted UAE Pass for full digital onboarding process. So now with their integration with UAE Pass, people who want to send out money or remit money, they do not need to go physically to the Ansari exchange. They can use the UAE Pass to log in, authenticate, and share their documents, their Emirates ID, passport, and information, and fulfill all the KYC requirements. So these are the kind of things that we want to continue to see and support to help small merchants onboard quickly, to offer products that are more suitable, and as an ecosystem working together towards achieving this. When it comes to the scheme, we are currently not working on a specific scheme. That's not part of the Smart Dubai mandate, and maybe our friends in Visa would not be happy about that if we did work on a competing scheme. However, what I would like to say is not about the scheme, it's about the product and creating a product that fulfills the requirements of the market and the stakeholders. So one of the things that we know about that the central bank has approved a study and also the implementation of what we would call as the real-time payment, our next generation payment platform. And this is, we believe, is the future that allows people to have instant settlement, instant transfer of money, whether it's peer-to-peer or peer-to-merchants, consumer to business, whether it's QR code based or other means. So we're seeing this is a positive, I think, trend, positive indication that these kind of facilities will be available soon.
This is interesting, Wesam. Thank you for sharing. And I think the peer-to-peer part and peer-to-merchant, I think it will make a big impact, especially if we can turn it as well to an e-commerce. Now, the microphone with you, Mr. Mohammed. Share with us your opinion about local scheme.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I just want to echo what Wesam and Samer mentioned in here, and I just want to give some numbers. So basically, cash transaction. These numbers we got it from Euromonitor. They were estimating the number of cash that was circulated in the United Arab Emirates. So if you look at the retailers last year in 2019, it was about 146 billion dirhams worth of cash transaction happened in the entire United Arab Emirates. Utilities was 29 billion, healthcare was 6.7 billion, education was 21 billion. And that shows you the amount of cash or the amount of dependency on cash so far from the society. And the reason for that is there are two main reasons in our opinion. One, small and medium or micro, small and medium enterprises are not getting, some of them not getting credit card machines and facility from most of the banks. And some of them are considering the 3% are really very expensive for them. Keep in mind that most of those are in the neighborhoods. So what basically, for example, groceries, barbershops, tailors. So basically they are cash transaction and they keep that cash for them instead of just giving out. They feel it's more safer for them to keep the cash and collect cash instead of having such technologies part of their settlement. So if network providers can work it out like what Samar just mentioned now, to have a pay by link or other products that might help micro or smaller businesses. And just to come back on you, Ziad, when you said anybody freelance or anybody can tap into these products and services, as long as you have a business license, yes, you can. Without business license, basically you will not be able to have a business account. And any business transaction will not be able to be put in your personal account. So basically you need to have a business license in order for you to use any of the business financial tools.
Interesting. But you see, in my opinion, as let's say as an expert, if the merchant sees a value out of this payment, I mean a good price with a big volume of users, then he'll probably adopt to it. But as long as it's expensive and complicated, I think it's going to be hard for him to accept it. So therefore, I think the economic department role here is to actually push for digital payment, because in the end of the day, it's a one ecosystem. If I want to collect taxes, and at the same time the owner of the merchant wants to know the exact amount of transactions that's happening every day in his merchant life, then we need to create this digital payment system. And I wrote an article called "Cash is King, but digitized cash is the crown prince." And the crown prince is going to come sooner or later, so there is no doubt. But I think we need to work on it from now. Samer, tell us, is NI going to keep charging in the future same amount of the 3%, or there is a way for a local scheme? You guys working on it? I know you did a good job with your Mercury card. With the Road and Transportation Authority on the merchants, and I think they are planning to expand to become more of an NFC. Can you share with us some information about this, I would say, small scheme that NI is working on it, and what's your vision in a UAE scheme, a big scheme in the UAE level?
So thank you, Ziad, for the question. So firstly, I think the first attempt here, and basically our objective is converting cash into the digital payments. So developing a scheme is part of that, but this is one of the options. Now, what we did recently, Ziad, is we started working in collaboration with both Visa and MasterCard. And again, the key objective that we looked at is how to convert more cash, and we involved also the central bank, back to His Excellency Wesam Lootah. We are engaged actively actually with the central bank on how can we drive the cost of payments from the current structure to a more efficient structure where possible. Now, what we don't want to lose sight of is that the bigger picture for us is converting cash into electronic payments, and to do that there is an investment required. Now, the challenge is in which areas we can start looking at, and how can we get some benefit back to the market doing this. So we started with Mercury, and this is a couple of years ago, or 5 years ago actually, and the objective of that was to address untapped segments. But today we are working closely with the schemes and the central bank to come up with a proposition to the market that addresses the increase in cash volumes. His Excellency Wesam would vouch for the fact that when the cost of transactions was prohibitive, and the e-government at the time, volumes were nothing compared to where it is at today. So the cost of the transaction improvement yields us more cash conversion, but that's only one component of it. It's the customer experience, it's the digital journey, it's a lot of other things that sits around it. But definitely it's a core item in our agenda of discussion with the central bank, and soon you will see some outcome coming out of that that will benefit our clients. And I know Visa is also engaged with us. We work all together. I am the chairman of the Acquirers Committee in the United Banking Federation, and basically in this role I work with all the acquirers and the central bank and the schemes to come up with a proposition that addresses the need of the market. But with the increase on volumes, you will see efficiency comes into play. E-commerce growth is significant. I would say even our growth rates are increasing year on year, and if you look at EU and US, the rate of growth is decreasing year over year. They're still increasing, but the rate of growth is decreasing. I think we have a significant opportunity there, and the efficiencies that we can bring together as a country or as a community, as a payment industry experts, is significant. That would add more value and accelerate this growth.
And I think just to add there, Ziad, I think one of the things, there are some really stubborn. Okay, so I just thought I'll chime in and I'll sort of back summer up a little bit. So I think one of the things that we need to really think about, there are some sectors and some kinds of payments in the UAE that are really, really stubborn cash payments, right? So I think, and Simon talked about a payment link that would be going on. So in the e-commerce sector, for example, cash on delivery, it's a huge stubborn cash cohort that we need to move. So pay by link is a step in the right direction. I think more and more users are now, because a lot of the platforms have stopped accepting cash on delivery because of the pandemic, have forced some of these users to get online and use them. And I don't think the cost of acceptance is a concern there. It's just a habit that needs to change, and I think that's changing quite rapidly. One of the things that consumers are sometimes reluctant to use their card online is when they're concerned about security and trust, and and once they use it, and there is a lot of good work that's happened in the security and trust area within the payments industry. I think tokenization, a lot of the security tools that are used by the industry, they have come a long way. So I'm pretty confident that once the consumer uses their card or puts a card on file or puts a card on contactless device or a wearable device, it's very hard for them to go back. But there are some stubborn uses. The other big one, in my view, that would really move the needle for the UAE would be when we are able to use cashless transit, for example. We've seen that it's a big move anywhere in the world when people are able to use their card on transit systems, because it's everyday spend, it's habit forming. I think those are areas that are really required, as Samir said, and His Excellencies have said, that it's a concerted effort that we all need to move towards. In terms of cost of payments in the UAE, they have come down consistently over the last 2 years, I imagine, and I think there is a lot of work going on in the background with the central bank to make sure that doesn't become a hurdle. Interestingly, I'll share a study with you. So Visa conducted a study earlier this year in Jan, where we did some research with a lot of small businesses in terms of what is the hurdle that they have when they're accepting cash. I think one of the very encouraging findings that we uncovered was, of all the small businesses that were interviewed, nearly 63% of them claimed an increase in revenue once they had started accepting digital payments. 58% of them claimed that they have had a higher footfall because of electronic payments, and they, the sale that they would typically lose, they were able to fulfill that. So I think there are a lot of sectors that are moving in the right direction, and it's an industry-wide. And I don't necessarily think that cost of acceptance is the only hurdle there. There are lots of other infrastructural issues, connecting their point of sale with their
Yes,
cash management system.
I'm coming to this this, if you allow me. A few months ago, we've seen the Samsung have created out of their phone a point of sale terminal. So basically, the phone can accept transaction from a card or from another phone. Now, will eliminate a lot of business in the middle, especially on the acquiring side. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not sure if Visa and MasterCard are going to take over that business to be the issuer and the acquirer, to accept both. So acquirers don't exist anymore in the middle or not. But what Samsung did with their phone device is what we're going to see in the future 5 years from now. And I think that's why I think digital payment is coming, because if you are owner of a merchant, even if it's a small merchant, you own you would own a smartphone, and with this smartphone there is an NFC capabilities, and you can actually put your coordinates, your bank account number, your information, your KYC, and then you can accept payment from people. So in this case we will see the transaction fee is less, will drop to, let's say, 1.5% or 1.2%, because you eliminated a lot of business in the middle. So there is no support, there is no connectivity, there is no machine, there is no call center, there is nothing. The agreement is on your phone. You put your coordinates on the phone, like your bank information and everything, and that's it. You as a merchant, you're ready to accept digital payment. How do you see this happening, Shahebaz? I'm sure in Visa and your labs you can see. Do you mind sharing with us like future plans towards this aspect?
Yeah, so I think acceptance has come a long way, and I think, like I said, Samar can add a little bit more flavor to it. But there are really cheap ways to accept payments today. I think QR code is one of them that is quite prevalent in the market. All you need is a QR code stuck at your register, and you can basically take a picture from your phone and make a payment. I think that is a possibility. You've mentioned the technology that Samsung's talked about. So soft POS is essentially when your phone becomes an acceptance device. So I think there is a lot of investment and innovation that's going in this area. I don't think that from a Visa perspective, we will never get into the acquiring business. We're quite happy working with our partners and let them run that side of the business. So a lot of movement in the right direction. I think where we need to look at, so apart from just the acceptance device, like I was saying, Ziad, is how does that acceptance device then connect with the backend system of the retailer to then automatically do the tax planning for them, for example. So there is a lot of other elements that have to fall into place. But yeah, so I think it's all steps in the right direction. We are really working to move that needle, and we have successfully done it. I think we just need to accelerate it a little bit more.
I'd like to add something here.
Okay, go ahead.
What I wanted to say actually is just kind of tie us back to the topic of the panel, and also the current circumstances that we're going through. What we are seeing today is that a lot of the businesses, even governments that have invested, they had the foresight to invest in becoming digital, investing in their internal automation and digital experiences, are showing that they are more resilient to what's happening today with the restrictions and the changes happening with the pandemic. So they are kind of reaping the benefit of the investment that they have done. Whereas some of the, let's say, the bit of the laggers, some of the businesses that kind of shied away, did not look at digital transformation, did not invest in digital payment or other means, they have been hit hard with what's happening today. And I think that's a learning that I think we all can come out of today, is that I think for me, what I see is that the direction is going to be digital, whether it is not just in payments, it's in general. In most of our life, in our interactions, we see this is becoming the norm. Physical interactions will be the secondary option that people will have. These changes in habits, changes in the way consumers behave, is going to increase And companies, governments, cities, countries that are investing in this, I think they are the ones who are going to prevail.
Thank you, Wesam. Mohammed, are we going to see in the future with every economic department a new license and an e-commerce facility, an e-commerce service, along with a point of sale terminal given immediately to the guy who's going to operate in Dubai? Are we going to see this along with NI? Are you guys working together to introduce something like this? So today, I'm Ziad, I want to open a merchant. I want to open a grocery shop, a barber shop, whatever it is. I want to open a store, let's say, whatever it is. When I walk to the economic department and I get my license, do I get a point of sale, or let's say a virtual somehow, or a QR code, and along with a payment gateway services for 3 months free? Do I get this? Are we planning to have something like this in Dubai?
Well, we are working, as I said at the beginning, with Engage Pay. It's part of Engage DXB. We are working on this now. So any businesses in Dubai, especially the micro and small businesses who are underprivileged when it comes to banking services and digital financing, basically, once they get their license, we are working or we are in discussion with one of the biggest Dubai banks in here, or 2 banks, basically to have a bank account associated with each license. Now, this will be based on opt-in, opt-out. So many of the other businesses, they have their own relationship with the banks, but those who doesn't have a relationship, we can opt them in to be a part of the network, and basically their license will have a QR code which has all the information required when it comes to transferring cash to digital. We are working now with 2 banks, without mentioning those banks, and 1 technology company.
Okay, and I think in the end of the day, even if you guys want to work with NI in offering much more product to the market with a 3 months trial or free trial or whatever, I don't think NI will hesitate and help. They already helped a lot of merchants. Their name is being all over the market, trying to support SMEs. And I'm very proud of Samer and his team doing this. And also, I'm proud of the economic department and Smart Dubai and the Dubai government for what they did to people. I mean, you don't have to pay DUA bill, and I know this might probably affect Dubai now transactions for the past 2 months. But honestly, everyone is doing a great job. Samer, do you have any new product coming to the market you wanna share with us beside the one you spoke about? Is there anything new in terms of digital payment or a new innovative point of sale terminal to help merchants? Do you have a new services that as an NI will offer?
Absolutely, Ziad, and make no mistake, despite the fact that everyone now, and I'm sure everyone in this webinar or listening to us today is thinking about cost, we are looking at how can we really invest on our digital platform and make the customer journey as easy as it could be and as flexible as it could be. We're evaluating options, and it's on the top of our priority. And back to His Excellency, Mr. Mohammed, as well. I think the question you asked him actually is really the right direction, where we all need to come in to our clients and make sure that we give them the whole package. You are the first touch point, Your Excellency. Actually, you are the best channel for any organization. And how do we integrate what the vision that Ziad have mentioned with this question, this in our digital transformation as well? How can the renewals of the trade license, how can I make all of these things, and potentially with Smart Dubai government and the capabilities that they have built, it enables us to use multiple of these challenges. And my aspiration is to benefit from all the investment the government have done and try to bring a customer experience that's unrepeatable anywhere in other markets. And to start with that, I am challenging my compliance team. Trade licenses with notes I should ignore the notes as long as they have trade licenses. Renewal, I am being challenged, but we have a big risk team that I am making sure that we are all there to serve the clients, support them in this tough time, but coming out of this, actually adopting the same. Ziad, back to what Shahebaz mentioned, QR codes, it's in the top of our agenda, right? It's a cheap enablement for the merchants. Faster payments, His Excellency Wesam, the first time I saw a proposition was we were together in the Scandinavians, and I think this is something that should come to this market, and central bank is looking at it. So there is a lot of innovation. Timing would be an issue because everyone is now focusing on what are the cost levels, what are the investments required, how can I make sure that I am beyond COVID with my teams, with my capabilities unbeaten, and start post-COVID strong, strategic, and achieve specific objective. And this is what I'm focusing on right now.
Interesting. Thank you, Samer. Wissam, I know you and Dr. Aisha were always in love with peer-to-peer payment. Where is it right now? I know you've been working on it for some time. Is there any development? If I want to wire money, transfer money, shouldn't not necessarily through a bank account. No, from a wallet to a wallet, or from my account to a virtual account to a virtual account. Are you guys working on that? I know you've been trying to introduce something like this. Where we are in Dubai with this?
Good question, Ziad. Actually, this topic was a topic as part of our strategy to go in paperless and digital transformation. We looked at payment in general. We looked at identity and few enabling services. We've moved forward with digital identity, as I mentioned earlier, and we did launch the UAE Pass as a digital identity nationwide. When it came to payment and introducing a new payment platform, this is kind of the jurisdiction of the banks and the central bank. It does not make sense for an emirate or a city to launch a new payment platform. This should be something that is adopted and rolled out across the entire nation. So just as an update, we did have a meeting with the central bank, and they provided us with their current plans. So the project is approved. There is a team in place that's working on it to bring it to the market in the near future. With the idea that this will allow, obviously it will, led by central bank, it will allow for all the banks to be connected in this new payment infrastructure, and it will allow for this, higher efficiency in conducting the transactions, whether it is a transfer between wallets or between accounts or what have you, between merchants, peer-to-peer. The architecture and the design of that system is meant to support all kinds of transactions.
Interesting. Thank you very much. We have questions from the audience, and Suzanne is asking, and I would like Shahebaz to answer. Digital payments are necessarily in the future development, but where do we see cryptocurrency coming into this?
So, I mean, I think blockchain is something that I think is exciting. I think, I believe in the technology that powers the crypto. I'm not necessarily sure right now, and this is completely my personal view, is, how I think for any currency to be a credible store of value needs some sort of regulation that sort of protects the value for the people who hold that currency. So like, while I believe a strong, firm believer of blockchain, I'm still sort of waiting to see how crypto pans out going forward as a means of storage of value.
Interesting. So do you see cryptocurrency is going to have a big part out in our digital payment future?
I think it has got a part to play, and like I said, a lot of the larger organizations, and we were part of it at some point in time to sort of see what happens. So we definitely want to see how it plays out. We're keeping our eyes and minds open about it. Are we actively pursuing anything in the area of crypto? Not at the moment, like I said, but where as far as blockchain is concerned, yeah, absolutely. I think there is a lot of value to the distributed ledger technology. We have built business solutions on the back of distributed ledger. So B2B Connect is a Visa product that uses distributed ledger technology to make business payments. So that's absolutely an area of interest which we are actively working on. As far as crypto is concerned, we are, like I said, keeping our eyes and minds open about it.
Okay, we have another
Yeah,
question. Thank you, Shahebaz. There is another question from Deshaun, and I would like Samer to answer that question. Samer, how do you see the contactless transaction is increasing in the UAE market?
Actually, I see a significant opportunity in the contactless transaction, especially after the regulation that came from the central bank last week. The fact that they increased the limit to 500 dirhams, this is above the average ticket size of the country. So I think there is a significant play on the contactless and the adoption of contactless. It will become a lifestyle, back to the transit discussion. But again, I want to go back to the basics. I think it's a channel. I think there is a significant opportunity of growth there, but cash is the thing that needs to be addressed. And back to your previous question about adopting new technologies, I would wonder or put a question mark with all this artificial intelligence, data, blockchain. We couldn't find the medicine for COVID-19 so far. So yeah, it's a bit challenging to utilize it. Yes, it's there. How to use it and make use of it is a question mark in my mind.
Okay, we have also one more question. It's actually for Shahebaz, but I think I'm gonna ask I would like Samer and Shahebaz and Mohammed to answer this. What are your plans for the unbanked community?
Well, as I said, through the Engage DXB app, basically we are going to link the WPS, the wage protection system, to this network, and basically one of these banks are going to offer them the bank account, so that the bank can or the money can be transferred to the bank, and then from the bank they can use it wherever they want to use it, contactless, or they can remit. They can peer-to-peer send money to different people. So I need you to understand one more thing, Ziad, in here. Most of those are unbanked are laborers, and those laborers, they are cash intensive, and their cash is very small ones. Like they go for 1 dirham to buy fruit, or 2 dirhams to buy so on and so forth. So that's why it is very difficult for them to use any wallet or any cash or any card when it comes to this. So basically, when you reduce the when you create the local network and reduce the fees in that network, it will be easier for them to do so, to transact between themselves. And if you look at the labor camps, they have a small kiosk when it comes to food and when it comes to services that they seek. It's like a 50 thils or 1 dirhams or 2 dirhams things that is going between them in there. And those are underbanked. Bank system will not take them seriously, or will not give them facility on their bank. So that we need to look at that unbanked or underbanked in different eye.
I have something to add here. I mean,
Okay.
When we talk about normally underbanked segment in society, we can also look at access to services. So as being part of where we are in the UAE, we see some things that are actually positive when it comes to being able to be more inclusive for this segment. So for example, our mobile penetration is almost over 200%. That means there's almost 2 phone numbers per individual in the UAE.
Nice.
The second, access to smartphones. More than, I think, 76% as the last numbers coming from TRA of the phones are smartphones. And we're seeing these numbers continue to increase with the cost of smartphones going down. We see around us today, most people are carrying capable phones that can give them access to services. So that requirement or that threshold is, I would say, is being addressed or is going to be addressed. I think the other significant thing that needs to change when it comes to the underbanked is changing the regulations or creating products that fit that market segment. If the requirement today from banks is that you put 5,000 dirhams deposit in the bank so that you can avoid monthly fees, well, most of these people cannot afford, so that product does not fit them. So there needs to be products that fit that segment, and that's up to basically the market to create these kind of products. But when it comes to digital enablement and inclusion, the infrastructure is there to be able to include them into the system.
Shahebaz,
Yes, hi.
give me your opinion about what Visa is doing for the unbanked community. You know, what their plans. Is there any new product coming?
So I think from a platform perspective, we have a whole bunch of products. So the prepaid product, which is essentially the backbone of the WPS within the UAE, that's something. So any product, deposit product, so all of those are targeted at the unbanked, underbanked in terms of acceptance at locations where some of these customers would go. As we talked about, QR code is a acceptance technology that we are working on. We actively promote as well to enable acceptance or for ability for them to pay. We have a Visa Direct service, which is essentially a remittance service. It can also be used for local P2P. But considering we are, as His Excellency pointed out, there is a project going on for local P2P. This is a service that can be used for cross-border remittances. So if you are working in the UAE or as a blue-collar worker, you want to send money back home electronically, you can use the Visa Direct service to remit money. So there are various solutions available, both in the issuance space, acceptance space, and also the remittance space, which can be targeted at the unbanked or underbanked. And those mostly are the ones that we go through are with our partners on the acquiring side, and the partners like Network International, and then also the issuing banks. So these are all technologies and solutions that are available from Visa to target these segments.
Samer, give us your opinion about the unbanked.
I think with the current post the current COVID situation, there will be no one unbanked. Everyone will go towards digital payments and the knowledge. This is my dream, right? The knowledge and awareness of the health of paying digitally, because this is really true. Money is a mode of transferring the COVID-19 virus, right? Is one area that is really helping, and it's very interesting to see laborers actually talking about utilizing it and actually utilizing it in front of you, and this is amazing. The culture that it's built on in terms of adoption of digital is quite interesting. We are working on a project actually with Visa right now that will enable a lot of these laborers actually to utilize it as a way of life, and I cannot reveal a lot of information about it, but yes, it is a main component of the economy, and we'll make sure that we have the technology required to support it longer term.
Thank you all. I would like to thank you all for today. That was a great discussion. It's my first time to be in WebEx. I'm used to, but for internal meeting. And this is the first time we are public. We had almost 250 people or more watching us. I'm not sure about the numbers. Maybe Terrapin can share with us the exact amount. But thank you all. Thank you, Wesam. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Samer. Thank you, Shahebaz. Thank you for joining me today. Thanks for all the information. And I hope we can have another session sometime soon where we see all of you as a partners working together, introducing a new products for the future of e-commerce and future of digital payment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining and sharing your insights. Thanks for moderating, Ziad, and thank you to Visa as well for supporting the session and enabling us to bring everyone together. I hope you all enjoyed it. So that is the end of our first webinar of the series. So again, thank you to all the audience for joining. The webinar will be accessible via our website for on-demand viewing. If you do have any questions, feel free to get in touch. We've got our next session on Monday at 11 AM next week. So again, thank you and hope to see you then.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.